How did you stay motivated to keep on track with everything?
Honestly, it comes down to my why. Why are you doing this? What's the reason you want to start an agency? My why is really based around a little bit more in the future.
I got goosebumps when you were saying your why because it's exactly the same as what mine is.
Humans love to learn, and if you have the belief that you can learn anything, you are capable of achieving what you want.
So from 0 to almost 20k in 12 months, what would you say that catalyst was? So, Harry, you scaled your agency to almost 20k a month in a year. What was that like?
So it's a slow motion knife fight. I would love to say that it was an easy road, but no, it's been an amazing experience, and having the support of the community as well. In particular, my client success manager. So I've been working with George, who's one of your team members, who makes sure that I've been active and I've been getting the jobs done that I had to get done, and so I just want to give him a big shout out. But yeah, it's been a great experience. A lot of learning for sure, and it definitely had a couple hiccups and bumps along the road, but I mean, to be expected at the end of the day. But yeah, it's been a great experience, and it's been quite a learning experience as well. I think from the emotional side of things, I think one thing that I've definitely come to appreciate is the importance of having kind of emotional stability throughout this process, to be able to have the endurance to be able to learn new skills that kind of push me through my different plateau levels, and I've seen that kind of consistently come up time and time again. And but it's been a great experience, going from never having made a dollar online to having a business where I'm now kind of successfully unemployed, I like to put it, where I'm able to kind of work for myself and travel, see friends, but then also kind of work on something that I'm really passionate about and that I own as well. So yeah, it's been an awesome experience. I'm sure you can resonate as well with kind of some of that the emotional roller coaster side of things getting started.
What do you think have been some of the biggest challenges in the last year?
I think the first challenge is just psychologically getting yourself into the mindset of the fact that this is something that does work. It can feel a lot like analysis paralysis at the start. So many options, so many different courses. I'm sure if you guys are watching, you all know the different courses, and so having a bit of a moment of, okay, I need to pick something, I need to commit, and that activation energy at the start is really, I think, one of the most important things to just get you moving. And then once I started to have a bit of movement, that's where I felt like the momentum came through, and that then gave me motivation. But I do think, I think initially, the cold outreach, it's tough, it's brutal for someone who's never done cold calls before. I was in management consulting in the past, very much an Excel monkey, sat behind a computer, would work with clients at a much higher level, but picking up the phone, trying to convince someone on the other line who's never heard of me that it would be worth their time to sit down for 20 minutes so that I can try and provide value to them in a way that could potentially grow their business. It was definitely the first hurdle, but then I think an area that starts to become difficult as you, at least as I started to bring on clients, is having a consistency in fulfillment. So trying to get consistent results for all of your clients, because definitely when it comes to sales, conviction in the product that you have or the service that you have to sell is so important. And out of the gate, I think when you're learning, I'd never run Facebook ads before. Having conviction that I could get these results for clients was something that took some time for me to develop, and that came from actually getting results for clients. And I think since then, it's very much, I felt like one of the best ways to kind of manage client expectations is, this expression of your mileage may vary. And so depending on where you're based, how effective they are at following up with leads as they come through, their own sales process, that's definitely been something that's been important for me to reflect on, because it's my responsibility to get leads to their door and then for them to convert them. But appreciating that there can still be fluctuation dependent on where in the country they're based is something that it took me some time to kind of come to terms with.
Amazing, man. So you've gone through the full hurdle of realization every step of the way. It's like that you have to deal with the cold calls and the outreach, and then the service. imposter syndrome. It's like all of us are living the same life when it comes to growing and launching an agency, and I think that's reassuring for people, but also at the same time, it's very daunting hearing that. What did you struggle with the most? Was it service or was it the sales time and side? And which of those are you most passionate about or find the most enjoyment in?
Yeah, great question. And yeah, it's so true about everyone going through the same process. I actually, I think I put a post up a while ago in the community, just highlighting that I actually live in LA. I'm from London originally, but I live out here in LA. Put it just a post out saying if anyone was in the local area and wanted to co-work, we should get connected. And actually just connected with a guy called Winston, who started about 2 months ago, and he's absolutely flying off the mark. It's awesome to see.
Nice.
He came from a bit of a sales background, but similarly, he's picking up the phone, cold calling. He's got a couple of clients now, so I think a big thing as well is having confidence in the process. Like, this process does work. It's been done, thousands of times, and that definitely brings some peace. And it's more just a repetition side of things. But yeah, just to emphasize, yeah, I think we've all been through that process. But then in terms of what I've really enjoyed, I've kind of shifted away from, now that I've got some results, some case studies, which has been awesome. Shifted away from the cold calling and the cold outreach, as it is, it is draining, at least when there's so many other things that you're trying to do as well. And I've kind of ventured into this world of doing ads now and running my own ads, creating my own content, creating my own video sales letter. And I found that I've got a lot of energy and a lot of enjoyment out of that. And so doing the front end marketing, sales pipeline development, building out funnels, all things that I'd never done before, but just that skill, kind of the skill acquisition throughout the process of learning how to run my own agency and get results for my clients. I've definitely found that my own marketing has been something that I really enjoy. And then, yeah, I think the continuous challenge is it's kind of always, I've found, at least, on getting consistent fulfillment. Just to give an example of that. So my background, well, at least the service, the offer that I provide is I help local contractors here in California who build ADUs get more clients through video and ads. So ADU is an accessory dwelling unit. They're mainly here in California, but they're in a couple other places in the States as well. And it's like a granny flat or a studio that you can have in your backyard. And so, it's quite a considered purchase. They can go anywhere from 150 to 250, sometimes 300K. And so for contractors, they're very valuable jobs. But from the consistency of service side of things, as I mentioned, my belief is that the construction space, it can feel quite opaque. There's not a lot of trust between homeowners and contractors. And so video is a great way to build trust and build a human-to-human connection. And then ads is a great way to just get yourself predictively in front of local homeowners. And so the difficulty is that different contractors are better on camera, right? And so I'll have some contractors who out of the gate literally, it was a contractor on Tuesday we launched ads for, and 3 appointments came through the same day as the ads went live. Best performance that I've ever seen, but it's over the moon for him. But then at the same time, I've had a couple contractors who've had 4 appointments in a month. And so from an expectation setting side of things and managing the fulfillment, that's something that I think I've found difficult. And actually be curious to kind of get your take on as well. From a fulfillment side of things, have you kind of experienced that similarity from getting different results for different clients and
It
having to get
definitely
through
varies.
that?
And there are lots of variables that depend on the client. I think we can often forget as an agency that whilst a client is coming to us with an expectation and that we're going to be the person that's going to help blow up their business, there are so many variables that we can't control. And in positions like the position that you've got right now, I mean, I actually think content is actually probably the biggest bottleneck for the majority of agencies who are running ads, especially if you don't have a content offer. It sounds like you've got a content offer alongside, and so that's it. It's kind of, lots of agencies go from ads to then all of a sudden creating a content offer because they're having to deal with the issues of content from the client themselves, which may have been a natural progression for you as well. And so what we've found to work best is we just have to over SOP everything. So if a client has to record certain ads, we script them all for them. We make sure that we give them a very kind of firm SOP, which goes through the setting and the framing and so on. We try and control by making sure that one of our videographers is there, and we've got various partners around various places, and we'll just get subcontractors in. And also we try and host like a pre-training video. So when we have a call with them like this, and we'll just go through the process of kind of coaching them through it. And I think that's all you really can do, is like help someone see the value in it so they get excited about doing the thing, and then teach them how to be good at it. Because I think lots of agency owners just presume that the business owner is going to be able to take basic instruction, and most people aren't very good at taking instruction on something that is completely alien to them, and content is alien to most people. So yeah, man, there's always consistencies across what clients do deliver, and we notice the same thing in, content and creative for us is the number one catalyst to what is going to grow a brand that we work with. And that's why now we've built this whole content department to focus on that. And I do think that is very important with agencies who want to hit those high ticket niches. If you can maintain and kind of low ticket local brick and mortar, but if you want to go for those bigger products and services who are competing with people that have budget, the standards are raised.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Our
No,
thesis is
100%.
if you're at a 75% success rate or above, then you're doing something really well. If you're above 75%, but like maybe 80% or something, it's not worth spending too much time. You can operationally you can focus your time on fulfillment and see what you can get that better and better. But I do believe it's impossible for an agency to have an 100% success rate. It's just not possible. But like 75% and above, if you're close to that, you're doing a good job. Focus on sales and growing.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think I remember when I lost my first client, thought the world was burning down, thought, what have I done with my life? It's tough, especially at the start, because, your first client is 20% of the business, and they're one of the first that you've brought in through probably a cold call. So there's a lot of like time and emotional energy invested into bringing them on, and you feel, they feel really important to you, and so it can almost feel a little bit personal when you lose your first client. But yeah,
how
that's
did you stay
definitely
motivated when that happened? Because a lot of people fall off the wagon when things like that happen. So like, how did you stay motivated to keep on track with everything?
that's a good question. I think honestly, it comes down to my why. Like, I knew for anyone who hasn't joined the community yet, I think unpaid testimonial here. I think one of the great things that Jordan does in setting up his course is, there's a full structure of, you could jump when you want to get into social media marketing or helping businesses grow through media. There's a tendency to want to jump straight into the tactics, I think, and I want to know how to use Go High Level. I want to know how to use Facebook ads. I want to know how to use AI appointment setting. And all that stuff's great and all that stuff's covered. But in order to have the longevity, which from what I've seen is kind of what leads to success in any entrepreneurial venture, you need to have the right mindset at the start. And one of the great things, as I mentioned in the program, is right out of the gate, there's a whole section on mindset, and really an encouragement to sit down and figure out why are you doing this? What is the reason that you want to start your own business? What's the reason you want to start an agency? What does the next year, 5 years, 10 years look like? And for me, that's kind of what drove me through, and is really based around a little bit more in the future I'm super excited to have kids at some point. Don't have any kids at the moment. But I remember seeing this graph when I was like 18 or something, where I think it's something along the lines of, I'm paraphrasing here, but 80% of the time that you spend with your kids is in the first 12 years of them being around. And that's something I'm really looking forward to, and I want to be as present as possible during that period, and being able to kind of have my own business and work hard now so that I've got flexibility to be able to drop them off, pick them up from school, if they want to go to ballet or they want to go to football or whatever, not being held back because of my work. That's my bigger why in the future, and ultimately what drives me through some of those harder moments. And then definitely, once you get through each of those moments, realizing that, I've been through this in the past, I can do this again. The challenges change, they get different, they look different, they've got a different color, but having a foundational why I think is really important, and I would really encourage anyone looking through the screen right now to sit down and spend a bit of time thinking through that, and really really like think through it and make sure you feel it deep. It shouldn't be superficial.
Yeah.
The money, that's great, whatever, but that's fleeting. And you can always make more, you can make less, but having something that's really at your core, I think, super important.
I couldn't agree more. And I think like your why changes a lot over time as well. I think it can be. I got goosebumps when you were saying your why because it's exactly the same as what mine is now. I don't intend on having kids for probably another like 5 years. I've got a lot of things I need to do, and my expectations and standards I set for myself are extremely high. In my position, lots of people would be like, okay, I'm done. But I'm like, every day I'm still obsessed with work, and I'm like, I've got a lot more I want to do. I want to be so rich that I don't even know what money is anymore. And then I know I can't be distracted and want to be on work, because I know if I had children right now, I would be thinking about work and thinking about how do I get to that 100 million. And so I'm so ridiculously determined to get there because of the exact same thing. I want to be able to be a present father, and I want to be there for my children, and that's a rarity in this day and age. And I think
Definitely.
it's something incredible to work towards. But that wasn't what I originally wanted. At 22, starting my agency, I just wanted a Rolex. I wanted a nice car. I wanted a nice house. I wanted to feel like top dog. I
Well,
wanted
you've got to be able to tell the time, right? So it's helpful to have. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah, that. But I wanted status, and then I think you get it, and then I think your why changes. So I don't. Anyone watching this who's like, I don't want to think about kids right now. You might be 19 years old. That's chill. But like one day you'll be thinking about those things, and those superficial whys will only take you so far. And I do think if you have one of those, you want the Ferrari. Oh, great. Get the Ferrari and make that your obsession for the next 12 months. It will change, and at every point you have to check in with yourself. And I think I put an Instagram story out the other day, and I think it's really on brand with this, in the sense that the pattern I see across all people that build or struggle to build a successful agency, and when I have conversations with them, is they have a plan B, they have a reason or an option to stay comfortable. But when your why becomes so powerful, when you know that if you stay in, let's say, your job that you stayed in previously, if you know that over the course of that time, no matter how hard you work in that job, you're not going to be in that position to be able to spend the maximum amount of time with your children, then that why becomes so powerful that there isn't an option anymore. And so that inner work is always so important, and I think lots of people overlook that. What were you? You were in a corporate job beforehand. What were you doing before?
Yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, just resonate with everything that you said. And actually, to be fair, I think if the Ferrari is something that will push you through hurdles, then great, because you get it, and then you'll be at an awesome place to reflect on what maybe your deeper why is. But I think, yeah, pulling back to that initial question of what pushed me through, I think just making sure that you spend the time to think about what your why actually is, I think is super important. But yeah, no, I used to be in kind of the corporate world, as in management consulting, so working with very large enterprise level brands, companies that you've probably all heard of, helping them with strategy and doing a lot of kind of private equity due diligence stuff. So a lot of a lot of like Excel and high level client work and strategy.
That in
Really
itself is
enjoyed
quite
it.
a high level. How did you get to? Sorry to interject there, but like that's in itself is quite a high level career. So that's. I mean, how old are you right now?
I'm 29 now,
29.
and so I live in LA, but I actually grew up in the UK. Went to University of Bristol, so any Brits out there, you'll know where that is. And then I studied aerospace engineering, so I did that for my masters, and then kind of pivoted into the kind of the corporate space. But I think loved it, worked insanely hard. It was very much like 9 to 12 every day kind of energy. But I think two big lessons that came out of that was actually three, I'd say. First one is 80-20, just like really seeing that principle play out. 20% of your activities drive 80% of the results. And so recognizing that plays across all parts of business. And so having that mindset when starting my own thing, I think was really important. I'd say that's the first thing. Second thing is a growth mindset and believing that, you can achieve more. You can, humans love to learn. And if you have the belief that you can learn anything, and that no one ahead of you is smarter or less smart than you. You are capable of achieving what you want, provided you put the work in. I think that was super invaluable as a lesson. And then also just recognize, I mentioned it earlier, like skill acquisition. Like I feel like even at the moment, I'm still at the bottom of hopefully my curve in growth. And it's very much, I feel like in this internet world, there's just so many different things that you need to piece together. It's like a huge puzzle. You know, you got to figure out how to run ads. You got to figure out how to make creative. You got to figure out how to do targeting. You got to figure out how to do sales. You got to figure out how to make a landing page. You got to figure out how to do a VSL. You got to figure out how to do copywriting. And like once you figured all those things out, okay, now they're all level one. Then you have to optimize each one. But it definitely feels like, and at least from what I've seen, and you know, from from videos that I've seen of different creators and just different people in the space, is once everything does link up right, it can then just kind of things can soar. And so having faith that, you know, during this period of just learning these different skills, will lead to the results is important. But so I was in the corporate world, and I think you know, once I left, I dabbled in trying to build I actually joined an e-com business. That didn't really work out. Tried to start my own e-com business with a friend. That didn't really work out either. And was kind of in this space of, you know, a lot of my peers definitely going down more of the venture route, building businesses that they're trying to turn into unicorns. And I love horses, but it was basically a decision for me on, you know, coming back to that why, honestly, like going down the venture route, you end up being, you're building something ultimately for yourself, but also for your investors. At the end of the day, you don't have full control, and your ability to flex and pivot in the vision and direction, I think changes when you're responsible and being held to someone else. And so I think that for me was not something that I loved. And then similarly as well, you know, I like to think about things from what's the size of the prize and then the probability of success. Like whenever you're making a decision in business, those are kind of like two levers to think through. And, you know, the venture route, size of the prize obviously could potentially be huge. Probability of success is a little bit more difficult because that opportunity is so high. And just recognizing that, at least I was thinking through, you know, I rarely hear people who out of the gate, their first business is a success. And so what is something that I could do to get some points on the board where the size of the prize might be lower, but probability of success would potentially be higher? And agency is a tried and tested route. Businesses always need to get more business. And so if you can figure out, while they're focusing on their business, how to be better at one part of their business, the people will be willing to pay you money for that. And then through that process, I would learn things, which I have. And then, you know, eventually I'll strive for, I think, bigger hits. But that's kind of like why I took the route that I took, is just wanted a bit more certainty and not to have 5 years potentially all be for nothing if that venture route didn't work out.
Such a great outlook, because it's exactly the same outlook I had going into this. I knew that I was going to have to sacrifice a lot of years to building a successful agency, but I also knew it wasn't what I was going to be doing forever. And I think that, and you hit the nail on the head with the probability of success versus like the actual outcome. An agency's financial outcome really is it's not huge. It's not monumental. Beyond, I had this conversation many times with multi-seven-figure agency owners, and we all share a philosophy that an agency isn't worth scaling beyond 200K a month. Like beyond that point, it's an incredibly stressful business, and like just the risk to reward just diminishes massively. But what it does, like even outside of the financial gain, is it just teaches you so much. Like the skills that you're mentioning, like VSLs and funnels and ads and emails and all of this, you can apply that to literally any business that you touch, and it like fills you with this confidence, sometimes false confidence in the hands of the wrong mind, that you could touch any business and you could start anything, and you have the most difficult part dialed in. You've got the marketing, you've got the sales, you've got the communications, you got all of that stuff, which is really the hardest part. You could be so granular. I know so many people that have built multi-million-dollar e-commerce brands, but they are horrific business owners. So like they have that, they exit, and then they try something else, and they're like, oh shit, like I haven't built all these soft skills that I need to like build a successful brand, because they've been so focused on product. And I don't think that can be understated enough. I think that more than anything is the reason why the agency model is arguably the best business model for people to starting off, away from any money, away from the earning potential, just because of those soft skills that you build. And if you see it as like this university of entrepreneurship, because like you can go to uni and go get a business master's, and you're still not going to get the skills that you'd get in a year of starting an agency. That resilience that you build. And I can't see any other business model that really throws you in on a diverse level like that and build your skills holistically. But I think what's even more interesting about your growth, and then I compare it to mine, because we had extremely similar growth in like our time scales. The similarity between what you've done and what I've done is we've been in corporate environments, and I also don't think that can be understated. And I think that at the moment we're at a danger, and I see more and more. It's crazy how many young people are like starting agencies at like 16 years old. I've seen 15-year-olds, and you've got these accounts that are literally viral on Instagram that have just gone absolutely crazy. And I think that people are really going to struggle if they're jumping into this game completely cold, completely out of the bat. And there is a reason why people like you and people like I who have had this unfair advantage, which is actually being put into a system and fitting into a mold. There's a reason why we build very successful businesses very quickly. And it's because we've gone through this conditioning beforehand. That feeling that you described when you have to learn something new, you have to, oh God, I need to learn this funnel and I need to learn this email, I need to do these things. You go through that feeling when you get told yes or accepted for a job that you're underqualified for. Because that's how we progress, right? We're underqualified for every good job that we get. And then for the first month, you're like, how the hell am I going to do this? And you just do it. Don't you? Just make it work. You make it
I want to touch on that in a sec. But yeah. No, 100%.
It's the same process. People, when they start an agency that haven't gone through that, that's why I actively encourage people to jump into some kind of industry where they have to talk to people on a daily basis, be it sales, be it account management, be it recruitment or marketing, whatever it is, public-facing job, but in a kind of corporate officey setting so it's monotonous. I think that's like an ultimate unfair advantage. And I believe at least that if you put like a 16-year-old who wanted to start an agency, they start one. And you take a 16-year-old who goes into that environment. I think if you both look at both of those guys at 21 years old, I think the guy that went through that conditioning first of all, and went to boot camp for a few years, in employment, I believe at least I'd hazard a bet that that person would be more successful and more established, because you're looking at things with a deeper mindset, and you're getting so many mentors by all of the different managers and all the other people that are more experienced than you that you're aspiring to be. It's invaluable. It's like being in a course, but it's a business, and you just get to absorb. Yeah.
Yeah. No. I definitely agree. I think that's all true, provided you can kind of drop the ego when it comes to starting.
100%.
Like I think that's something that I definitely had to wrestle with. Like, kind of doing a reflection on what constitutes success for me, because my peers are carrying on. They go to business school. They're all joining venture capital businesses, and they're all doing great, and I'm for them I'm super excited, and it can feel, especially when I'm like twiddling my thumbs trying to figure out like why is this ad not working, can feel stagnant relative to them. And so there is that judgment, and that comparison's the thief of joy kind of expression, but having structure and understanding the importance of process, and having structure and understanding the importance of process, I think can make it a little bit more rigorous when it comes to trying to grow your agency, and honestly grow a more professional agency as well. Just knowing like what is good etiquette, how should you be speaking to people on the phone, how should you be speaking to people over Zoom, even just like little things like that. Having a clean background, little things like that do make a difference.
Yeah, I need to. Hopefully we've got some time after this so I can pick your brain on your background, because I absolutely have to replicate the setup that you've got. So
I appreciate it. It's definitely, and actually this is an interesting point, like tactically, I think, for people who are looking to, when they're starting to grow their agency, and what are the different, there's so many people who are cold calling. There's so many people who are doing cold email outreach. There's so many people who are doing content. Definitely trying to figure out what is it that can help you differentiate. I think I had an unfair advantage cold calling in the US, because I had a British accent, and that I was thinking, if I was an American trying to start, maybe I'd put on a British accent to try and break through. But anything to kind of, shift the perspective of the conversation. And similarly, when I eventually have a pitch with someone, once I've got them now I have an inbound funnel, so I run ads, people fill out a form, they watch a short VSL, so they get to know me a little bit, they self-book into an appointment, then hop onto the call, and there's a few people who have a proper setup like this, and it cost me a couple $100, but definitely brings a level of professionalism and comfort and confidence to the other person on the other side. And so, not you, Jordan, but people who are watching this sat on the sofa or in bed or whatever, trying to figure out, what is it that you can do that's slightly different to break through the noise, I think is really important.
What would you say is the single, if you would have to isolate one thing that enabled you to get to the point that you're in and the time frame that you have? So from 0 to almost 20K in 12 months, what would you say that catalyst was?
So I think there's two. I think about it from a catalyst perspective, what sped me up, but then also I think, which I'll get to in a second, but I really do think the most important thing, not just in agency, but then also within any kind of business venture, is just having endurance, just being able to stay in the game long enough, because around the corner, different opportunities rear their head that give you more endurance. So. And I think that comes from like emotional stability, like being able to recognize that, I have a couple of friends who, whenever I get a sale, they're like, "Oh, we should celebrate." I'm like, I can't. I'd love to, but I can't, because if I celebrate now, when I lose a client, it's going to feel so much worse. And so, I've got plenty of excitement and happiness in other parts of my life. I don't live a bland life. But from the business side of things, it needs to feel, you need to feel like you are on solid ground, because just one thing that's too hard could potentially just derail everything. But by staying in the game and learning these skills, new opportunities have come my way. It's like now I can, I'm a marketer. I didn't used to be a marketer. And there are other opportunities that are interesting for me. Like, I'm in, in the construction lead gen side of things. I wanted to try doing, marketing for window cleaners. Within a month, signed up a couple clients, which would have taken me 6 months before. But now, being in the game, seeing like this kind of unique opportunity and being able to capitalize on it, I think is really important. It has been something that's been super useful. And then more established people also reaching out who run, more sophisticated businesses, wanting support on marketing. Luxury wedding planner in New York who wanted some support, and I'd be like, yeah, I can support in that. So I think that's what helped from the endurance side of things. From a catalyst perspective, I would say once you have enough clients that you feel like you're ready to shift towards, like when I was initially getting clients, I was kind of hoarding the cash. I was keeping the cash. I was trying to keep my expenses low. Just trying low and slow, and just like, let's just stay. You'll hear me say this over and over again. Just stay in the game. But eventually got to the mindset of, okay, now I'm ready. Like, invest in myself, invest in my business, more learnings, more trainings, more information packs that I find online. Investing in ads. Once I started to invest in myself beyond that initial kind of investment to join your program, I'm always reminded that an investment in yourself is one of the best investments that you can make. And I feel like that's definitely accelerated my growth. I'm actually curious to ask you the same question. I know you teamed up with your partner at one point, and it felt like that might have been a division of responsibilities which allowed you both to grow together. But I'm curious, what was a kind of a catalyst for you when you were getting started?
In the agency's growth, I would say full-time team. I think full-time team for me. The minute we had full-time team, and we were stuck in part-time contractors, and a lot of them for a long time. It was when we started hiring full-time team members and really took the time to invest in those individuals and nurture them, that we really started to grow. It was when we had that full confidence to take our foot off the gas in certain areas of the business and just rely on others. So not just taking on team, but also investing in team. We invest quite heavily into the training of our team and so on. So we buy them external programs, we put them on mastermind events, we send them to conferences. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is send team to conferences, because it's such an infectious environment that most people have never been in, that they come away and it's like you can see in team members when their battery is depleting and like they need a recharge. Chuck someone to a conference. It might only be $100, $200. You get someone there, they come back and like you can't contain them. They're just oozing. You can see it in them. They're just vibrant. So I think like investing in training and showing the team we care about their growth and so on, that was the catalyst to us. And that actually happened quite late on in the journey. I would say probably like 30, 40K a month. That was before that point. It was sheer and utter just sales grit. I was always coming from that sales background, so it was just mass volume of outreach for a very long time, and that was my unfair advantage. But yeah, for sure, the team was the biggest catalyst. Outside of that, and in business in general, investment in education has been the number one part of. I mean, I invested in an education product once, and I had a single conversation in the space of half an hour with the person that I invested in at an event that I went to. He gave me one piece of advice, and I doubled my revenue, and it never dropped ever since. And it was since climbing since then. That was an investment I made of an incredibly. I mean, it was the biggest investment I'd ever made in my education. It was $36,000, but I got ROI within month one. And then it unlocked this world to me, because I went like 3 years into business before I did that. I bought a very, very small course when I first started and discarded it because I thought I knew everything. And I kind of built my business almost, I think my arrogance actually in a way got me to a certain point, but then it then enabled me to plateau. And then it was then when I opened my eyes up to what everyone else had to say that I was like, wow, what an absolute idiot. And I've just obsessively been investing since. I mean, in the last 3 months alone, I've spent over $100,000 on coaching in the last 3 months, because I'm now trying to. I can't talk about it, but I'm now started another business as well, and it's completely alien to me. But I'm like, well, why would I now, with millions in the bank, not pay the best people in the world that already know this stuff to help me? And that's exactly what I'm doing. And we're just expediting. I think what you do when you buy education, and 0 to 10 is all about how can I best leverage my own time. Anything above 10K is how can I best leverage other people's time. And what you do when you buy education and mentorship and the right education, you can screw up. But the right stuff is you are literally just buying months, if not years back, that you would have to spend yourself figuring that thing out. And so now it's just like any bit of cash that we've got. It's like, okay, if we need to solve a problem, who can we pay to help us solve this problem? Because there is no value at all in us figuring the shit out ourselves anymore. And so I would say that's probably catalyst number 2. And I can't see any way that we ever will not be investing in some kind of training every single month, whether it's for ourselves or for the team or whatever that looks like. It's become a bit of an obsession, but a very healthy one. Yeah.
Where are you looking to grow? Like, I guess maybe personally, but in business as well at the moment.
So it's it's varied. We're investing at the moment. We've just put out 6 applications for new roles. One of our main focuses right now is hiring our C-suite. So I'm taking some big bringing on some big strategic hires, people with 20 plus years of experience, very established, and so we're going to be going a lot more. We're going to be really building a professional business. Which is ironic to say after making as much money as we've made, but it still really is an amateur business in the grand scheme of how businesses are run. So we're getting a lot more serious in that sense. So strategic hires. I'm building a software product which is in beta at the moment, and that's going to be an interesting venture, and that's something that's
Can you give us a taste? What's the realm of what it does? What kind of arena?
I can't talk about it. It's attached to AI, and there's not a single product on the market that does what it does right now. So it's an active solution for agency owners that they desperately need, and every agency owner botches together a solution because there is no one unified solution, and that's what we've created. And as with all businesses, I think actually one thing I've learned from very successful businesses, and actually this is something that got reaffirmed 2 weeks ago. I had a conversation with someone that just exited a product business for $500 million, so 500 million he got personally, which is insane. And one of the biggest bits of advice he gave to me, he said, Jordan, your biggest business or your best businesses are going to be the ones where you have created a product around an issue you were facing yourself, because then you deeply understand the problem and the likelihood that someone else is facing the problem, because all humans are the same in some way, shape or form, at least in the industry. So the likelihood that someone else has faced this problem and it's been a big enough pain for them to think about it is very high. And if you've thought about creating a solution to that problem that nobody already has, that's when you've got something truly great. And that's what I believe we've got going on there. But it's, who knows? And this is the thing. Joe said to me a couple of days ago, he said to me, have you thought about, because I'm obviously deep financially, investing like hundreds of thousands into this thing, as you have to, and you have to speculate to accumulate. Joe said, have you thought about what would happen if like this didn't work out? And I said, honestly, mate, I would shrug my shoulders, I'd probably laugh about it, and I'd be like, well, we gave it a go, didn't we? What's next? Let's get back on. What's the next big thing? What's the next venture? Yeah. And it's just that. I've had so many years of shit. Just like, no, this isn't working. Oh, you thought that was going to be good? Well, it didn't work out, did it? And just that resilience over years and years, that I genuinely believed that anything could be thrown my way in business, and I would still get back on the horse tomorrow. And it's exactly what you were saying about this endurance. It's like, if you can adopt that mindset as an entrepreneur, it is genuinely physically impossible, unless you are, and you wouldn't even be thinking about it if you were, but unless you were genuinely like handicapped from an intellectual perspective, it is physically impossible to not build something of substantial wealth over a long period of time. And the only thing that will stop that happening is a drop of resilience and endurance.
Yeah, so, definitely.
Yeah, man.
No, 100%. That's exciting. So hang around after the break, folks, for Jordan's software product. That's cool. I'm excited to see what it is, and sounds like something that'll be super valuable, and hopefully something I can try out as well.
For sure, man. It'll be perfect for you. Listen, Harry, I'd love people to be able to connect and follow your journey, because you've done so many amazing things in the last 12 months, and you're only going to go from strength to strength. So if people want to follow you on socials, like you mentioned, you're kind of growing the brand at the moment, where are you most active? And I'll make sure I get some links in the description.
Perfect. Appreciate that. So yeah, if you're a contractor and you're looking to grow your business and you're tired of buying leads from Angie, House, resold leads that ultimately have spoken to 20 other people before they speak to you, and you want to take control of your own marketing funnel so that you can have control, as I said, in kind of the destiny of your business, then feel free to, probably the best spot is to reach out to me on Instagram, Harry Powerscale. So we'll pop a link down below. I help contractors grow through video and ads, video to build trust, ads to get exposure. Ultimately, that's the future. Websites don't matter. They all look the same these days. And so if you're a contractor and you want to stand out, and you want local homeowners to believe in you, then they kind of want to see you through video. So that's probably the best spot. So Harry Powerscale on Instagram. And then if you're, an agency owner, or you just have any kind of questions about my journey, I'm going to start posting more of the content and the learnings that I've been having now that I've started to see results also on Instagram. And so I'll be Harry G Marketing, which we'll also put in the description, I'm sure. But Jordan, just want to give you, a huge thanks to a very rigorous course that you put together. Ultimately, I think for anyone who's thinking about selecting a program to work with, I think we covered it, multiple times here, that investment in yourself is one of the most important things, and you will get an insane ROI on that, provided you stick to it. And this is a proven path. Like, agency is a proven path. Businesses always need new business, and if you can help them get that, then you'll be paid accordingly. And so having a path which you don't have to think, you just have to do, will lead to a lot of momentum. And I think Jordan's course is great for that. The community is awesome. You get paired up with an accountability coach who makes sure that, especially out of the gate when so much can feel uncertain, having someone who's holding you accountable to the actions that you're committing to is really good to just get you that initial momentum, that initial success, which will drive the next step and the next step. So I know Jordan, he's doing some work on an updated version. So who knows, the price might go up. So you kind of want to buy now. but no, truly, thank you so much. There's a lot of agency creators out there. And the reason that I picked your course, and the reason that there's actually this other guy that I just met as well, picked your courses. The generosity and information that you put out online, and just being so leading with value, leading with authenticity, and just trying to help people even if they aren't able to afford it. And ultimately, when you're buying into the course, you're buying into the person, and I'm really glad that I bought into you. So thank you.
I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. Thank you. Cool. Well, guys, I'll see you soon.